Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of the Why I Love Disney podcast. Hello, David and Easton. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, I'm doing all right. Sitting here talking to my friends about all things related to Disney. It's always a good day. I hope you've had a great weekend. We're here, and man, I'm looking through. It's been a little bit of a quiet news week. I mean, there's always something you can pull out, but then we talk about it and we're like, what, do we want to talk about that on the show? You know, that's, kind of out of left field, but I was just going through the news today, and I know there's still some things going on, but one of the things that caught my head, and this is where I'm going to jump in, it kind of piggybacks off of what we talked about in our last episode, and that is this NBC News article. I think, David, you mentioned it, that major changes at Disney parks divide fans. We've already talked about this,
right?
But it is making major news, and I do think now, I think some of the things we didn't know were confirmed, or we're going to kind of wait and see, have now kind of been confirmed, that it looks like, Tom Sawyer Island and the riverboat are on the way out for this Cars Land to go in. And as that happens, anytime you put new stuff in, old stuff goes, there's always a bit of controversy around that. So, David, have your thoughts changed? Have you had any new angles to take on this, or are you still sort of just, man, it's not what I grew up with, not what I like?
No, I don't think I've really changed my mind completely. Again, I wish they would figure out a way to keep and retheme and redo, as opposed to just, and mainly because they have so much land. But I've watched a lot of other reports on this, and hearing other people and people who've been blogging for a long time, and I think the consensus is there's a lot of people that feel like I do, and it's not this overly hyped. It can't change. It's like, I think there's a lack of confidence in what it will be changed to, and there's a difference when something's going away, but you have confidence that what's coming will be better. And I think that's I hear people saying, it's like there's really a doubt that what will come will actually necessarily be better. So I think that's part of it. I think, again, I just don't want to see them really replace the water through there. I think that's such a great thing, and maybe that they will somehow find a way to fix that and still have that feel of motion and water and coolness and things like that. But there are a lot of people. I mean, for it to start making national news, the reporting of people being dissatisfied. I think that's really interesting. It's not just people on YouTube and Twitter complaining. It's actually making the news now. I still think the water is important. Now, the other thing that people are anticipating now is not that it's all going to change. That Liberty Square is going to. That and these are people that have been in the business a long time. Say, oh no, we are hearing behind the scenes that Liberty Square, all of it, anything Americana is going. They're going to replace it more with character IP, and Americana is going out. And I think that's a big shift, because Walt Disney himself, that was one of the things he wanted. One of the pillars of the park to be about. Tomorrowland was looking to the future, and Frontierland was remembering the past and stories of the past. And so there really will be letting go of that, making everything just about adventures in space, adventures in the wilderness, adventures in the jungle. And that's what it'll be. It will all be just adventure. So that's a big shift, and that would be really sad to see.
Well, we'll see how it ends up. There has been more and more speculation that seems to be rooted in reality too. And I know you're not alone. I know there's a lot of people up in arms and different varying degrees of disappointed to outright upset about the changes, and you can understand that. Like whenever they're going to take a part of the park that's been there really since day one and been a kind of a key point. There's obviously, you can expect backlash, and to be quite frank, it's kind of funny. Disney's one of those companies. No matter what they do, there's going to be varying degrees of analysis, and these days, especially when we're so divided, everybody looking at, well, what's their motivation for that? And I think too, how much do you think how much do you think it is people, just, man, I like that, and I just hate to see it go, versus it being perceived as more of Disney's kind of, I guess, political leanings, and maybe antagonistic to a certain demographic that's been critical of them recently?
Right.
What do you think the balance is between those two things of the outrage?
We all shared together behind the scenes a video the other day, I think, of two guys talking about just the culture war in general, and how it's hit Disney, and what people call wokeness, and how it breaks things. And I think once a brand, I think that once a brand gets a little mistrust, just a little mistrust creeps in there, then everybody starts to question the motives of everything. It's like, are you taking out the water because you think this will be better, or are you taking out the water because you have a problem with a riverboat? And then now you start going into political and just values of people, and I don't know. I think that's to me what's happened. Now I also think that you have just different personalities. There are people that always embrace change. That doesn't have to, they just love change. They're willing to let anything go for something new. They really are. They just like new things. The more you change things, after about 3 or 4 years, they're bored with that. They're ready for something new to come. And there are a lot of people that aren't like that. Most people aren't like that. Most people like things to stay the same. So I think that's just one of the things. The vast majority of their audience would probably prefer it did not change. And so, they're going after probably a smaller group of people who really do want change there. And I think the other factor is too that it's Magic Kingdom, and that is the most historical. I definitely thought that through since we talked last. It's like, yeah, there were a lot of things that have gone at Hollywood Studios that I went, well, it just doesn't feel the same to me. If they, people were so, a lot of people were so sad when the Backlot tour went and all those things. And I like those things. They were great to me. But when I took my kids, they didn't respond. And, I just knew, like, man, when it starts to, it's when you're not connected to that next generation so much, you don't feel it. But when you're taking kids that aren't responding to the things that you love, well, this can't last forever unless they figure out how to make it better. But, there are places that I go, that doesn't matter to me as much. But Magic Kingdom, that one feels pretty historic, and it's sad to see, historical things go. That's where I stand. It's more about, it is about a lot about culture changing and letting things go, and it's sad.
Yeah. Easton, do you feel like, it feels to me like there's a group of people that they tend to get, if they're going to get irritated, it has to do more of like, oh, they're nickel and diming us. They're giving us less and charging us more. They're changing it. Yeah. And then there's that. And then there's people that are, no, you're messing with my childhood here, or you're messing with the flow of the park, or whatever, and the history of those two. And then there's people that, like, I care a little bit, but not that much. I'd really prefer to see what's coming next.
Right.
Where do you find, Easton, yourself in that? Or where do you think the majority of the criticism comes from of those three camps, if there is any?
Well, I think the majority kind of would probably split between nickel and diming and the nostalgia factor of they're taking something that I've loved for a long time. And I think that the unfortunate thing that Disney has done is they've kind of painted themselves as a company that when change happens, we do have to worry, like, okay, are you changing this because you think it's better, or are you changing it because you think what's there shouldn't be there? Because of all of the past handful of years of different things coming out about the inner workings of the company and their whatever agenda they may have. So I think it's pretty sad that they've kind of painted themselves that way, that's something we have to worry about. Now, I fall into more of the kind of somewhere in the middle, I've not done the riverboats. I've not been to Tom Sawyer's Island, right? So I know that that's always been there. It's been there a long time, and I think it will be kind of strange to see all that water filled in. I think it will change kind of the atmosphere of the whole place, but I'm not outraged about it. I understand where the history comes in, and I understand where the nostalgia factor comes in, and I understand how different it's going to be. But Cars sounds kind of fun to me. Cars sounds a little bit fun to me.
Well, Cars does sound fun. I just think most people anticipated that it was going beyond Thunder Mountain, that it was going to go back there where they have, prompted people since they started talking about beyond Thunder Mountain. You thought it was going to go back behind there. It was going to blend in, like it was going to be a Radiator Springs type mountain, and it was all going to blend in, because that's usually important with sight lines and making things flow. And so I think adding a Cars somewhere in the resort, whether it's Magic Kingdom or somewhere else, is a great idea. And Radiator Springs Racers is one of the best attractions ever. So, even though I don't always like that they copy and paste things to other parks, if they were going to bring one thing to Magic Kingdom from another park, I would love that one. Instead, we're going to get something kind of like it. Then I'm like, now I'm going, is that going to be as good? Is it going to be as good as that? Or are we going to get the B-rated version that leaves out all the animatronics and the dark ride part, and it's just ride around in cars? Like, that's like, that's what you start thinking of, like, because are they going to nickel and dime? Are we going to get a less, because we don't have a lot of information. Again, Tom Sawyer Island, if they made it great, like if they had done something over there, like if they suddenly said this is going to be the Bayou, and Tiana's going to be over there, and we're going to have meet and greet. Suddenly if they created anything really good, then the crowd couldn't handle it. Like, can you imagine if you had thousands of people trying to get there, trying to get over those rafts and get on the island, and you got those little caves, and how crowded that would be? Like, that wouldn't be fun if it was crowded. It's not fun if it's crowded. When you go over there, you really want it to be kind of not crowded, or you don't even want to go in there, because it's just not fun. And so, it had to have a redo, or something had to happen. I totally get that. I just wish that they could put Cars on the island, or put something, make the island smaller so you still get the riverboat, and put Cars behind it somewhere. Just something like that. I think something could have been done. That'd be a great place to go meet characters, because, that's something a lot of people like, but a lot of people don't care anything about. So, I don't know.
Put all the characters on an island.
Yeah. Character island.
Let all those
every single character
people that
on this island
want to meet and greets, make them go to the island.
Villainland Island. You go meet the villains over there. Now, then it would be too crowded. Like, people couldn't get over there. So,
I also think that we love the atmosphere aspect of the parks. I've always talked about, one of my favorite things about the parks is, as long as I can remember, you never hear two kinds of music playing at the same time. Like, you're very inside of an atmosphere.
Right.
Whether you're in Tomorrowland, you walk from Tomorrowland to the next area, the music kind of just transitions. You never hear two things playing over top of each other. And that's one of my favorite things about it, is because it doesn't, because like places like Six Flags or Dollywood, you've got one area here playing loud music and one area here playing loud music, and they overlap, and it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Where am I? But Disney, as far as I know, has not done that. But I don't think that they were quite prepared for so many people to care quite as much as the people do about the atmosphere aspect of, you can't put Cars in Frontierland. Frontierland doesn't have cars. You got to put it past. You don't want to see Haunted Mansion from this area. That would mess with the whole thing. Like, as much as we would, thinking about it, I think they weren't quite. I think they were more hoping that people would just be excited for new things and change. Right. And I don't know that they were ready for such a large number of people to think about it that way.
Right. And I do think also with that, the idea that within Frontierland, I've heard several people argue that, well, Walt was always changing things. He says it wasn't a museum that, and you look at the original Frontierland at Disneyland with that, where you could ride a pack mule, you could ride a stagecoach. I mean, all those things have changed. But a lot of that was because, one, you couldn't put thousands of people in those type of attractions. That was good for an opening day a couple of years when you had hundreds of people, compared to today coming in. You couldn't do those. Those things had to change. They couldn't handle the crowds. But the essence of the lands and the essence of what you go to Disney for was that it did not feel like an amusement park. You didn't go past the roller coaster to the merry-go-round to this. You were in a just a whole different environment where all these things were hidden within that environment. Like you said, you were in a themed land, and it was overarching so that a lot of different IPs could fit in it, but it all works together. Even though those IPs don't necessarily coexist in their little fantasy worlds. You don't have Hall of Presidents and Haunted Mansion are right there together, but they're totally two different periods, but it doesn't feel like that. And so when you think of Cars Land dropping right there, that's a big jolt. That's a big jolt for a lot of people because it just doesn't feel like it's part of that land. But I do think the rides are great. It would be a great addition somewhere. I just think the theming is really important to people. And again, just the vast majority of people don't want things to change that much. So you have to nuance this stuff. And again, I also saw a lot of criticism. I mean, there's not a video that goes by that doesn't point out that they knew what they were doing, and they didn't tell the people at D23 because they didn't want to get booed. They just didn't want to get booed. And somebody reported at another D23 when I think it was one of the Pirates of the Caribbean changes. I think taking out the scene with the auction where they're auctioning brides. When they announced that, they said people booed for that. And this is a much bigger thing than changing one scene within an attraction. This is changing a whole land. So we'll see.
What I'm hearing, whether it's nickel and diamond, whether it's change for whatever reason, it feels like most of these conversations and criticism are born out of just we don't trust Disney.
Right.
We don't trust them for a lot of reasons. It could be the reasons that we don't know they're going to get it right the first time. Yeah, Cosmic Rewind's fantastic. Rise of Resistance is fantastic, right? But we're not sure they're going to get it right. We don't know their motivations. We don't really trust when they say, hey, you're going to like this better, that it's actually going to be better,
right,
for whatever the reason is. And I think when they don't have our complete trust, when they announce something, hey, we're going to do this and you're going to like this better than what's there already, everyone's like, I'm not so sure. Well, and again, the Tiana stuff too. And again, some of that, I try to sift through what's fair and what's unfair. But it does seem like, they spent a lot of money to rebrand something that, at least at best, is kind of been reviewed as kind of meh, nothing overwhelmingly amazing. If your worst criticism is stuff's broken and it's not excellent, right? It was kind of rushed.
Right.
But whatever it is, people just aren't trusting Disney as much.
Well, I think that's a big word right now overall. I mean, when you think of the word trust and people trusting, there seems to be a lot of distrust of many things, to corporations, politics. There just seems to be an unrest, a mistrust everywhere. And that's why we have all these, everything seems to be divisive because there's just lack of trust everywhere you turn. And so I think that's when it's crept in. And, that a podcast we watched recently where they were talking about branding, and the guy said, this could take years and years to fix this branding. Because the guy asked the other man, he said, do you think if they have 2 or 3 hits that it's going to fix it, and the experts said no. It's going to take a long time to get trust back, because once you lose it, it's very hard.
You know, you look at the box office rankings, and 3 of the top 10 are still Walt Disney Studios motion pictures. Deadpool back to number 1, Alien number 2, and Inside Out still hanging in at number 10.
Yeah,
it's been out 11 weeks. So there's those, with some other ones coming out soon. I'm actually looking at. Looks like other than those big Disney movies, there haven't been monster films this summer. Twisters is a big one for Universal Pictures. Also, Despicable Me 4 was a pretty big movie for Universal Pictures. But we're at the end of the summer now, and I know Beetlejuice is about to come out. That should do really well, the Halloween stuff, and then you get into the holiday season coming after that, and Disney has a couple of big swings to take. But yeah, I'm looking at this, and at least they're making a little bit of money on the movie front. So hopefully that's a sign of, at least, hey, hopefully they get addicted to making money, because people like things they do, and they like to continue to do that.
Well, and we'll see. I mean, I definitely, there were rumblings that they were hearing all of this. They don't want it on the national news. They don't want NBC and people reporting that fans are upset with what they're doing. So maybe it will. Maybe they'll rethink some things and move Cars somewhere else and retheme the other things. Who knows? Depends on how far this blue sky really is, and how intent they really are of really retheming Frontierland and Liberty Square. If they've already got their sights on that, I don't know how I don't think any hope then. I think it's going to happen.
You're probably right. I kind of like East and Fallen. I'm not going to lose a bit of sleep over it, mainly because of all the, like I said, if I were to make a list of priorities to get to the park, especially with my kids and what they'd be interested in, that section of the park would be the least interesting to them. But I could put other things on that list too, as well. We talked about the Tomorrowland, your Speedway. That should have been axed a long time ago, and something creative put in there. They keep, on all the things I've loved, they always axe all the time, like I told you about. From Delta Dream Flight to it was American Airlines before it was Delta, and then you had Mission to Mars, which turned into Alien Encounter, which turned into Lilo and Stitch, which all of them were kind of cool. And now, what is it now?
Empty.
It's nothing. It's empty. It's empty.
Empty. All these years.
Yeah. So you got all that stuff you can do stuff with. Maybe they just put Tron in, so maybe they're not concentrating on Tomorrowland. But it seems like there's so many possible things that they could do to increase, put a top attraction in certain places where there's things that aren't great,
or fix something like Carousel of Progress that needs updating, so it doesn't feel like it's broken.
Right, 100%. And but that said, it's kind of like, will we like what's coming better? And I guess that remains to be seen. It depends on. It better be great. If they make it, if it's worse, and you walk in there and you're like, I don't know about this, then you're on the wrong track. But we shall see. I wanted to also spend a little bit of time. We've mentioned a few times on here about Disney Plus, and y'all were mentioning to me things kind of are vanishing from there without a trace. And we were speculating as to some of the reasons why. What are some of the things you've noticed that you were watching that you can't watch anymore on there?
Well, the first thing that vanished that I wanted to go back and watch that surprised me, and I'd seen, I knew that they had taken some things like Willow and some of the things that were made for it off, and really surprised fans that loved those shows. And I think that some of those decisions were financial, like to take losses. But there were some things that had been there from the beginning that surprised me. There was a show called Prop Culture that was kind of, it wasn't like the Imagineering documentary, but it was similar in that it was looking back at old properties. They did the Muppets, they did Mary Poppins, they did the Narnia, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe movie. Can't say Pirates of the Caribbean, and this guy that he is a prop collector. He collects props and costumes from all these movies, and he went and found he collects all these things, and then the gist of the show was he's showing these things to the audience, but he also goes back and shows them to the actors. So he takes Mary Poppins' costume to Julie Andrews and lets her see it, and he has the girl that played Jane as a little girl in Mary Poppins, and he takes her costume and parts and and they look at the props, and these people telling stories about being in the movies, and they do the same thing with the cast of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and they're all adults now, but they were kids when they filmed that movie, and so they're holding these swords and shields and props and costumes that they wore as children, and the emotions, and it was such a great show. And I went back to watch, and it was gone. And so Easton and I were looking this week at a lot of things that have been gone, even things that were recent, like the Mighty Ducks series. And John Stamos' show. It was called Big Shot. It was about he was a coach of a girls' basketball team, and things that are recent. It's like, man, this stuff's already gone. And a couple of those things I had watched an episode of or two, and could have watched again, but they're gone. And I was just really surprised because some of that stuff just vanished without warning. I didn't know Kristen Bell did a show called Encore that was adults going back and redoing their musicals from high school. Like, they would get the same group of kids from a high school that are 15, 20 years later, and they go back and they have to cram and learn their parts for the musical that they put on in high school. And it was interesting. Our family watched a few. It was kind of fun family entertainment, but there were multiple, probably like 10, 15 episodes of that. That's gone. And so I was surprised because some of those things feel very Disney, like Kristen Bell, John Stamos. I just was surprised they had pulled that stuff already before people really got a chance to really watch it. So did they pull it for losses, or are they recycling it and going to bring it back later? Are they going to put it on another network? Can they do that? Those are things I was wondering, because it was just sad when you really do like something and it just leaves. I didn't expect it to be quite so Netflix in that. I thought the things that were made by Disney and for Disney Plus would stay. Now, Taylor Swift concert, those things I could imagine being special events, like for a season you can watch it here. But there were a lot of things that I thought if it was Disney product, it would stay.
Yeah, I'm just Googling here, like why some of the reasons this might be. But before I do, Easton, what are some of the things? Have you been watching anything got kicked off that you're super bummed about?
Well, what's so crazy is I haven't looked. I was looking up a list just before we started recording to see because I haven't looked in a while, and the craziest thing about the whole thing is that it doesn't seem like Disney is saying like, oh, hey, these are leaving. Like Netflix is good about, if you click on a show or a movie before you start it, it'll say you have until September 2nd or whatever date, and then this is leaving. But it seems like Disney hasn't done it, or if it does, I haven't seen it. So it's just crazy.
I'm reading here that the library slim down, content slim down is kind of universal in the sense that every streaming company is doing it, and a lot of the reason they're doing it says it's more related to rights and how much it costs them just to leave that catalog on there. Mm-hmm. And then I'm reading a Deadline article talking about this, and they get to I'm missing the date on this, but Iger says that Disney is targeting $5.5 billion in cost savings, including $3 billion in non-sports related content. And part of that, they speculate, is removing library titles from Disney Plus or from Hulu. Right. And then it talks about how Netflix has billions of dollars of licensing agreement just sitting there that's not making them money. So that's why a lot of these shows come and go. They sit there, and if they're not, they figure out this business model, which is honestly probably quite complicated to figure out how a show you put on streaming adds to the bottom line or takes from it, right?
Right.
I don't know how that. It doesn't seem obvious to me how that works, other than do people subscribe to your platform to see this show, or does this show draw people to your platform or keep people on your platform? And I don't know how you determine that. That seems difficult, but apparently they know. But Netflix also, one of the reasons for the rotation is, what the rights cost versus what it adds to the bottom line. So I do think this is more economically related and less about this is just a bunch of junk. And there are some write-offs involved, I guess. If something loses money, there's some attractive write-offs for tax reasons why they might do that as well. I think that was more the Willow case,
right?
If I'm not mistaken. But it is interesting. Like, you would think, they pitch it to you like this could just be the place where you could get anything whenever you want from the vault, if you will. Well, and it's all there in a catalog.
And that's kind of the way it was promoted when it first came out. It was like, imagine going to one place to get all the Disney content you could ever want. And it's kind of like, oh, well, no, it's not all. That's why, you asked me, I said earlier, YouTube has become my Disney Plus, because there are way more things posted on YouTube that you can't watch on Disney Plus. You can watch them there. Or you can go to iTunes and say, oh, man, remember that show from... I remember there was this movie when I was a kid, and I can go find it on iTunes and just rent it or buy it, and instead of waiting to see if it pops up on Disney Plus. So I'm not sure about that. All I can say is I go to Disney Plus less and less, and I'm a huge Disney fan, and I'm a huge Disney content fan, but I go to Disney Plus for it less and less. Our family has been, since I was in high school, I've, been just buying movies and having kids and teenagers. We bought all the Marvel stuff through the years. Like, I don't need to go to Disney Plus for that. I have copies of them, and I don't really want to get rid of them, because if I want to watch it, I don't want to go pay for it again. I've got, and I realize everybody doesn't have Blu-ray players and DVD players and things like that anymore. But I do. So why would I pay more when I can just go pop it in and watch it? It's right there. It's not hard. Yes. Is it more convenient to stream? Yes. But do I have to? No. I could go stick the thing in right there. It's right there. It's not hard. Now, streaming is great when you're on the road or you're traveling or you're on a vacation or something like that, and you want to watch something, you can do it. But I don't have to do that all the time. And so I finally started going, man, I don't even go to this anymore, because if the new content is not pulling me in, then why do I have this? I don't want to get rid of it. And I'm not, I know a lot of people have gotten rid of it just because they don't like a political stance or something like that, or they didn't like this movie, so they get rid of it, or they jump in and out. They watch something, and then when they're not watching something, they get out. I don't want to do that. I'm really trying to hang on to it, but I don't watch it.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, like, what are the can't miss Disney Plus exclusive content, right? And it used to, there were plenty of, like, the biggest, The Mandalorian, right out of the gate. Most of the various Marvel series have been at very least interesting enough to make me want to go watch a few of the Star Wars. And then what happened is, Star Wars, has dropped off quite a bit. I still haven't touched the Acolyte, which has already been canceled, so now there's no reason to. And then I'm in the middle of Ahsoka, which I am enjoying. I'm excited about Andor, but but there's nothing there that I'm like, this is can't miss. You know what I mean? Like, It felt like at the very beginning. They took, Mighty Ducks Game Changers off, and me and my family saw every episode of that and loved it. I'm looking through the list of stuff they've removed. Diary of a Future President. Saw The World According to Jeff Goldblum. This was original, the right stuff, the real right stuff, the Cheaper by the Dozen remake. I've seen all of these, right? And these were all like pitched. The one and only Ivan, Stargirl. Our family's seen all Artemis Fowl, which was not great, but still, I watched it.
It was made for it.
Made for it. All this exclusive content that really was in the first round. Timmy Failure, Be Our Chef, Better Nate Than Ever. All of this content was made for Disney Plus, and now they're pulling it off, which tells us that they're probably, at very least, reevaluating everything. Right?
When I go to the Disney Plus app on my phone right now, the first thing that pops up is Hulu Futurama, then The Simpsons, then The Bachelorette. I mean, like, none of this is what then they do have the Beauty and the Beast animated movie. Like, that's the only, now it's just Hulu.
Right.
It's just Hulu has it's like basically Hulu has the Disney content, but it's not what I go there for. And even when I click on the Disney app, it's just not. I don't know.
At some point, it seems like they could save a lot of money by not having two separate streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And they are trying to merge it. Just give us one. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand.
Hulu was just fine and profitable, but I think it looks to me like Disney Plus isn't profitable, and the only way to make it profitable is to mash it in with Hulu so you can say it's profitable. That's what it looks like to me. But maybe completely wrong, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah, and I hate to see that, because at the beginning, we would talk about it on here. We get really excited about the new content and new takes on the various projects and movies from the past, and new spins on things, and a lot of those shows that came off, I enjoyed them and thought they were really good, but it sounds like they're not profitable, and if they're not profitable, they probably won't make a lot more of them. So the Marvel stuff, none of the Marvel stuff is leaving. And I actually think I was going to lead to my next question. Speaking of Disney Plus, and you're just saying, we're kind of like being a little down on it a little bit, but I wanted to ask you guys, and this is kind of how we wrap up today, of the Disney Plus content, and I guess you could throw Hulu in there too, because it's all merged now. Let's do some recommendations. What are if somebody were to ask you, hey, I got Disney Plus and Hulu, I got a free month, what should I watch? Give them your top 3 of what you need to watch tonight on streaming.
Well, for me, it's a no-brainer. The Imagineering story is the best thing that they put out on this, that was made for this, that's still there. But you've got to be a Disney fan. Like, I don't know. I think it's several parts. So if you're really a fan and you're fascinated by how the parks were made and how it works, you're gonna love it. Now, if you're just moderately interested, you're gonna want something shorter. But I think it's brilliantly done. It's very thorough, and could they make it more thorough? Yes, but it would get so detailed. It would be 30 episodes. I wish, man, that would have been great. But there's so many of these great Imagineers and these great ideas behind all this stuff that you just don't want this stuff to get forgotten. You want to know these stories, and while these people are alive, you want to capture all these stories. There is another series on there still called Behind the Attraction that's good, and it's kind of an Imagineering type show. I think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was a producer on it. It's very fast paced. They did there were multiple episodes. One was on Jungle Cruise, one was on Haunted Mansion, one was on Star Tours, one was on Tower of Terror, one was on Space Mountain. So I think that's a really good. It has a different pace. It's kind of more geared with a whole family involved, so it moves fast. It's got little animations in there. That's a good show, man. And if you want to go watch a 35-minute little documentary on the behind the scenes of the Hall of Presidents before it goes, you probably should go watch it, because the attraction and the documentary could be gone before long. Who knows? But that's the kind of stuff I like. I thought, man, they'll come out with interviews about the parks and behind the scenes movies, things, and all this great Disney content that you could only get on Disney Plus. But no, it's just content that you really can get. Even Waking Sleeping Beauty, you can go watch that on iTunes. Imagineering Story, I don't think that's on iTunes. I think you can only watch that on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you were going to ask me top 3 things to watch like tonight, it depends on what kind of mood you're in, but I'm definitely going to recommend Loki. I'm definitely going to recommend X-Men 97. I'm definitely going to recommend Miss Marvel. And I'm also going to recommend, hey, listen, the 35th season of The Simpsons. I mean, it is kind of cool that you got The Simpsons and all of it, is right there.
Right.
And honestly, I'd say that's more of an anchor thing for Disney Plus than anything. That's a lot. That's a Fox, not a traditional Disney thing. Oh, and another thing my kids have been watching that I've found has been, and it's been on the background for me, but Stan Lee's Superhumans. It's an older series. It's a reality docu-series that Stan Lee is in. And, they document just humans that do amazing things.
Oh, I saw that. I did see some of that.
Pretty fascinating. It's not made for Disney Plus. It's an older series that's on Disney Plus now, but it's been fascinating, and my kids are really enjoying that too. So it is neat that they throw stuff like that in there too. So those are my recommendations. You got your what did I say? Miss Marvel, Loki, because that's the multiverse stuff you got to get into if you haven't seen it yet. The Simpsons, and a fourth would be the one I just said.
Yeah, in our family, we Marvel is something that we all watch. Everybody seems to enjoy. So those series have been good. I mean, I've liked all of them. Now, would I go back and watch them all again? Maybe not. But we've enjoyed them as a family. It's given us something to watch together that was new. So I have liked those.
Well, I'm definitely recommending Moon Knight. Everyone should watch Moon Knight.
We forget about those Marvel series. Most of them are great, in my opinion. WandaVision, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Loki, both seasons. There's some really good Marvel series out there.
I honestly probably liked Moon Knight the best, and I was disappointed because it's like it left with a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
and it's like, what's going to happen next? I want to know, and I don't know that we're going to get that. That's one that I really would have liked. I thought the quality of Moon Knight was up there with Andor.
It was good. Yeah, I agree. I was going to say Andor too for the Star Wars stuff. The original Star Wars things, The Mandalorian and Andor would be the two I would say you got it must watch.
Yeah, I've enjoyed all those things. It's just that your expectation continues to go up.
That's true.
And I like. Right. Hey, I mean, the Miss Marvel show got a lot of criticism, but I thought it was good. I thought there were a lot of things that I really liked about that.
I'd also recommend another Marvel movie. Kind of. It's just under an hour long. But have you guys seen The Werewolf by Night?
I did watch that. I had forgotten that.
It's good. I thought it was good.
Yeah, it was a little more scary, different tone than a lot of things they had done. More like Moon Knight.
No, if a person, you can put these in the notes too. If a person was like, you know what, I want to try Disney Plus out or Hulu out, you would give them this list and you could start there because there is some great original content on Disney Plus. And I agree with you on the Imagineering story. It's uniquely Disney Plus, which is great. There's like another one, a couple Behind the Attraction, I believe.
That's the one I was.
And yeah. Though you mentioned that one, and then there's that one other one. It's like they highlight a day in the life of one of the workers.
Right.
I forget the name of the show at the moment.
That's it.
One day. Yeah. That one as well. I've enjoyed everything like that they've put out, and I wish they would do a little bit more of it because I can't imagine that's incredibly expensive. It's a reality show for all intents and purposes, and it can't be super expensive. But I really, really enjoy that stuff, and hope they do more of it.
Well, and again, one of the things I love is just going back, even the old stuff. They have this thing called Christmas with Walt Disney. These are just old things from the archives in the vault, or some of the old movies, from before my time. You go and my daughter and I watched something from the '60s the other day. I said, you just need to watch this once. She'd like seen a remake of it. It was that movie called That Darn Cat, and we watched it. Yep. And she actually, as she went in, she said that was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And she said it's definitely is a period thing, but she liked watching the clothes and the settings, and she got really pulled in because it's such a 1960s movie, and it has the wacky chase scene that every Disney movie seemed to have from like 1965 to about 75. Every movie has a wacky chase scene.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of fun to go back and watch that stuff. And, it's a great, if you've already got Disney Plus, go back and watch some of that. Just at least give it a try. And you might be surprised.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I'm surprised we've come this far in the episode. and we are now, winding it down. There's so much to talk. It seems like there's always things to talk about. Even when it seems like a slow news day, there's always things we could opine on and give opinions and talk about. But I thought the only other thing I could recommend for Disney Plus to do that might draw a crowd is what if they had a live cam, a live feed you could watch, David, of them just pouring concrete into the rivers of America. With that, that could be interesting. You see what they're doing the whole time, and just like,
let's see
if you want to be outraged or you want to, just see the completion of the construction, just a bird's eye cam of the entire demolition project.
As a bunch of fans go strap themselves down to the ground.
If they were smart, they could do like a fun television show based upon protesters in the park, kind of like a mockumentary, you know what I mean, and really make fun of themselves. Wouldn't that be what I'm saying? That could win a lot of stuff over, right?
They don't make fun of themselves.
They should. They should make fun of themselves. They could win us back. They'll
just let Universal do it.
Yeah.
Universal will make fun of them.
Hey, and again, I think in the future too, I want to talk about this in our future episode, is I'd love to know who you guys think might be the successor for Bob Iger. Like, what's next? Who's next? And how much longer does he have? We don't have to talk about that now. We'll be thinking of that for the next episode. But until then, guys, Alien's making a lot of money. We got a couple new things out. The Agatha show is coming out soon on Disney Plus. I'm excited about that. But until then, we'll talk about all that stuff and all the fun things we love about Disney. But thank you so much for hanging in with us, guys. As always, I appreciate your time and love doing this every week. And until then, we'd love for you to reach out to us. Let us know your feelings on what we talked about today. What are your top things that we missed on Disney Plus that we need to go check out? Let us know. You can reach us at whyIloveDisney.com and on social media. And until we meet again, everyone, so long. Have a great day.
See you later.